Hi guys, welcome back to Ask a Lawyer channel. Hope you are having a great day. I'm back with more stories for you today. The first one got me really angry. Can you imagine a mother telling her daughter to hide from the family that she graduated medical school because it will upset her cousin? Enjoy the stories, guys, and don't forget to like and subscribe. I, 23 female, have an older cousin, 34 female, who we'll call Eve. Eve is close to my mom because before I was born, Mom took care of Eve. Eve's dad is out of the picture, and Eve's mom doesn't work, so my grandma and mom have been taking care of Eve and her siblings' education and needs. All my life, I get the feeling like Eve envies my siblings and I because we were brought up with love and my parents gave us everything. So I try to be nice to her and her siblings every time they visit, which is often, to make them happy and feel loved. As I got older, I became much more like my father, introverted and studious. I'm not really close to my mom because she is very gregarious and likes girl talk and do girly things. I love her to death, but I get very uncomfortable chatting with her. I'm much closer to my dad. Eve is just like my mom, so naturally they are very close. I feel sometimes like Eve is the daughter my mom always wanted. I used to get very jealous during my teens, but I grew out of it because I'm glad now that Eve has my mom because she has gone through a lot. Growing up, I've always had a pretty okay relationship with Eve, but I think most of the time she was just acting like the nice older cousin because we were always around people. Whenever we were alone together, she'd get very spiteful and critiques every single thing about me, my clothes, my looks, the fact that I am a spoilt brat because my dad gives me everything and dotes on me. I was a child and she ruined my self-esteem. I've gained a lot of confidence since then, but I hated myself as a child because I believed everything she said about me. Now I just keep her at arm's length at all times. Now to the big issue. In my country, you have to go through a big exam at the last year of high school. Those grades decide where you get to go for your tertiary education. I've always wanted to be a doctor or researcher, and the competition to get into a med school in my country is incredibly tough and expensive. So I worked hard during high school, got straight distinctions, sort of like an A, and got into a great public university in my country to do medicine with a full ride gifted by my government. Eve had the exact same aspirations when she finished high school. I was 7 then. She loved the glamour of being a doctor and being called a doctor, so she decided to go to med school. Thing is, her grades weren't that great, so my mom asked my dad to pull some strings, but the universities here won't accept her grades, so my dad could only get her into a private university. So she did med school for a couple of years until she started to have some medical issues that delayed her from getting her degree on time. Or so my mom told me. I don't know the whole story. She has been in school for more than 10 years and still hasn't gotten her degree. I just recently found out that I had passed my last board exam weeks ago, and I am so happy and proud of myself that I finally get to be a doctor. It was so insanely tough, and I was very emotional when I found out I passed. My parents and brothers were with me. My dad and brothers hugged me, and Dad got tears in his eyes. But Mom pulled me aside, and without congratulating me or anything, she told me to not tell my extended families or post on social media that I passed medical school, because Eve might get depressed that I finished first. I was so sad that she thought of Eve's feelings first over mine. Dad overheard and got into a fight with my mom. He told me that I could do whatever I wanted and tell anyone I wanted. Dad went ahead and told my paternal relatives about me passing med school, and they all called me and sent wonderful gifts. Last Saturday, my paternal grandmother organized a surprise virtual graduation celebration because I don't get to have a proper graduation ceremony because of COVID. Grandma went all out with the food and decorations sent to my house. Dad was obviously in on this, and Mom was happy for me too. But Mom again begged me not to post this anywhere. Well, a cousin of mine from my dad's side posted an Insta story on IG about my graduation, and I reposted it. I made sure to block all of my maternal relatives, but I messed up and missed one cousin. That cousin congratulated me on our big family chat group, and all of my relatives then started congratulating and sent me gifts. Yesterday, Eve called my mom crying about how now everyone knows how much of a failure she is because I finished first and everyone is celebrating. Mom got mad at me, claiming I did this deliberately for attention and to hurt my cousin. Dad got so angry and they started fighting so much. What should I do? Should I reach out to Eve and apologize? Edit. There are a lot of dispute in the comments about me graduating at 23. I do not live in the US and am aware that in the US you would have to get a bachelor's first before getting into medicine. Well, obviously in my country, things are different. We follow the UK style of education. I went into university straight from high school and was in university for 6 years before I finished. I am still essentially a junior or foundation doctor, where I do basic things, but I don't call the shots about managing a patient. The consultants would do that. I think it is very ignorant of you to assume that I won't be a safe doctor just because I graduated young, by the American standard. Sorry guys, but that made me really angry. Apologize? Really? For what? OP's mother is the one who needs to apologize to OP for treating her daughter this way and putting other people's feelings in first place instead of her own daughter. OP should be proud of her achievements and not pay attention to what her cousin thinks. She has a right to celebrate and tell anyone she wants. She shouldn't feel bad about it at all. At least OP's dad is a sensible man. Shame on her mom. A year ago, my boyfriend came home after meeting his dad's girlfriend for the first time. I did not attend this first meeting. He went on about her for about a half an hour. Wow, she was so ducking hot. Holy crap, I think I was blushing when we first met. Should I text my dad and tell him how easy she is on the eyes? He kept going on. How on earth did he find someone like that? I just can't believe, out of all people, he manages to find someone like that. These comments just stuck in my head vividly because, 1, his dad left his mother for this woman, and his mother was suffering from depression due to this. I specifically remember his mother telling us how awful it was to just be discarded. 2, since he knew his mom was in a dark place, I was surprised that he did not respond with disappointment after meeting the woman his dad was ducking behind his mom's back. 3, he was saying all those comments to me, and at the time, we had been together for a year. I just felt it was a little inappropriate. Anyway, I ended up meeting her sometime soon after their first meeting and found she'd had a lot of work done. Lip fillings, boob job, Botox, etc. I get along with her pretty well. So, fast forward to now, and there have been numerous occasions where he has brought up just how incredible he thinks she is. I get confused when he does this because he kind of never speaks about me on that same level. He has said to his dad in front of me, with her not present, "How did you manage to find someone of that caliber? I just can't believe it." This was 6 months ago. We also went out for breakfast some time ago. His dad, his dad's girlfriend, my boyfriend, and me. And afterwards, he yelled at me for not doing my hair or wearing anything nice. But we had just crashed at his mom's the night before, so all I had was my running gear to go out in as the breakfast was last minute. Whereas his dad's girlfriend always does her hair and makeup to full effort before going anywhere. I just felt like my boyfriend compared me to her and felt embarrassed. A month ago, we were at his dad's house for dinner. His dad's girlfriend was there, who is now his wife within 1 year of dating. And my boyfriend and I got asked what we had been up to that day. I said, "Not a lot. I wanted to go for a walk, but boyfriend couldn't be bothered." My boyfriend then said, "Well, look at dad's girlfriend. She went for a 6K run today all by herself. Why couldn't you do that?" In front of them, to me. Anyway, that was kind of embarrassing. Now for when he comes in and calls me pathetic. We discussed how his comments outlined about her have hurt me. I told him specifically what the issues were. I said, "You just make me feel inadequate in comparison to her. I always feel like you're embarrassed to be with someone like me. You never compliment me like you compliment her." He defended himself, saying, "She's classically hot though. Any guy would think that. You're just pathetic. Listen to you. This is why you have no friends. You're so insecure. It's embarrassing." He started calling me names, and I said, if we can't discuss this while we're not arguing, then it's never going to be solved. Honestly, after that, I just gave up. I feel like his comments about this woman have really just ducked me up. Additionally, he just thinks I'm pathetic and has no interest in seeing my point of view. Please, am I being irrational here? Am I a little brat? Of course OP is not a brat. She needs to leave this guy as soon as possible. He's an idiot. He not only doesn't respect OP, but also his mom. I think he will follow his dad's steps in the future. OP should run as far as possible from this guy. Background. I, Ford, 41 female, have had a tumultuous relationship with my sister, Alex, 38 female. My parents both worked and expected me, the oldest, to take care of Alex and our other sister, Stan, 40 female, starting when I was 10 years old. Alex had speech delays and other issues in childhood, and I remember my parents taking her to doctors when I was really young about that. However, after she was 7 or 8, I don't remember them taking her to any appointments. They were just sort of like, oh well, we have work. Ford can help her navigate school and the world. So I was expected to take her everywhere, even though she had bad social cueing and says some really mean, unfortunate things. Example, when I was 12 or 13, I had to take her to a friend's birthday party, and the friend received underwear from her grandmother and held them up, and my sister said, "Whoa, those are so big, you must be fat." I will admit I was mortified and called my parents to come get us right away. And then I got a lecture about how I was embarrassed by Alex and I shouldn't let my friends come between Alex and I. My parents made me take her to all social events I was invited to growing up and still say how I tried to exclude her from everything. I maintain that I was a teen. I never should have been asked to include her in hanging out with my friends from school. But my parents saw that she didn't really have any friends in her grade and told me I was being mean and excluding her because I wanted her to be lonely. To add insult to this supposed injury, Stan and I were only a grade apart and have always been very close, to the extent most people believe we are twins. Eventually, I just gave up and started inviting her to everything and letting her constantly hang out with my fiancé and I. This was in our 20s. This was a period of relative peace for my parents because they weren't having to force me to take her places or having to deal with her issues, because I was dealing with them. Stan was studying abroad and then moved to live with her fiancé in our 20s, so she wasn't here from age 23 or so on. When my fiancé, now husband, and I bought our house, he said he never wanted to live with my sister again. She had been our roommate when we were engaged and newly married and saving for a down payment. I agreed. We were trying to start a family anyway. My parents were initially very annoyed that Alex had to go back to living with them. She has never had stable employment. She has followed a pattern of being fired after a year or two for things like neglecting children in her care or giving the incorrect meds when she was the charge nurse. Alex ended up getting engaged and later married to someone she worked with at one of her jobs. He is 20 years older than I am and very R. So she left my parents' house to live with him and abandoned her 2 cats and dog at my parents' house. Eventually, due to my mom's health and my sister's refusal to take them, they were turned over to a shelter. Current situation. Meanwhile, my husband and I had 3 children and my parents retired. My parents purchased an iPad for Alex in 2011 and made me set it up for her. She said she couldn't. This was prior to her marriage, so I set it up using my account. By 2014, I decided to be a stay-at-home mom because I had 3 kids at home. By this time, Alex was married, and her husband collects a pension and works part-time, and she worked part-time. I asked her to stop using my Apple account because 1, I didn't want to keep paying for her purchases, and 2, I felt uncomfortable knowing she and her husband had access to my account. I said I would help her set up her own account, etc. But she would get angry and avoid me anytime I brought it up. Eventually, with the help of my parents, I got her to bring the iPad to their house to set up her own account. She started out by giving me her iPad, but as I was about to delete my account, she got very agitated and pee me. My kids were in the room with us, so I said firmly, "We don't hit." And then she tried to rip the iPad out of my hands, but I had stood up to get away from her. She followed me and shoved me while trying to take the iPad, and I fell. I was on a slippery floor, and my leg was twisted, so as she pushed me, my knee popped out of joint, and I couldn't feel my foot. I was really scared and called for my parents to help. They were there, but were not interfering to keep Alex calm because they didn't want to be involved. Anyway, Alex, a nurse, stepped over me, picked up her iPad, and ran away, leaving me on the floor unable to walk, with my 3 kids screaming around me. I went to the ER and had a broken kneecap and femur that required surgery and months of physical therapy. During the whole time I was doing physical therapy, I never got an apology from Alex. She sent 3 emails, one that just said, "So, I'm not your sister anymore, or what?" One that tried to say I was trying to steal her iPad so she had to hit me. And one said I pushed her over when I was 8 and she hurt her arm. I don't remember this incident, not saying it didn't happen. I'm sure it did, but it wasn't like she even went to the doctor about it or anything. Finally, after a year, I got an email that said, "Sorry, now can I see my nephews and niece?" I have not really seen her since this incident 5 years ago. But she has cried to my parents about how I'm not letting her see her nephews and niece, and she misses them. Stan has 2 children, but Alex never really asks to see them or visit them. If Stan visits me, Alex makes a big deal about the whole family getting together. I always say no. But Stan will visit with her kids, and Alex will post photos to Facebook saying she is with the cutest, brother-in-law's nationality, kids. Which really hurts Stan's feelings. They are adorable kids and don't need the racist qualifier. Alex also asks Stan's kids to relay messages to my kids like they are the cutest, best kids in the world. No racial qualifiers for my kids, etc. Alex also uses racial slurs, jokingly she claims, to describe my brother-in-law in front of Stan's kids. Alex's husband also loudly proclaims that non-whites shouldn't be allowed into America. Because of this, Stan is also limiting contact with Alex. So recently my mother went to the doctor and had some bad news. Her liver may be failing, not confirmed in any way yet. But I can believe it because she drinks a lot. She claims it is because of the stress from me fighting with my sister. Anyway, my parents called me to say that I was a terrible person for tearing our family apart, and I've always tried to exclude Alex from everything, and I am not happy unless I'm making her miserable. My dad said I was maybe seriously mentally ill because I don't let my kids see their aunt. They have a great relationship with Stan and my sister-in-law. My dad said I should just forget the past and let Alex see my family again because he and my mom are older and they don't know how much longer they have left because of their health. I do love them and I generally have a good relationship with them, except this one area. I did feel very resolved about this. I went to see a therapist for a while after my surgery, but I am feeling very guilty now. Should I go to cookouts and Thanksgiving and other events with Alex? For what it's worth, I never ask my parents to not invite her places. I just decline the invitation if she is going. Similarly, I have never asked my parents to pick her or me. I understand they love her and she is their daughter. But they say I'm being a spoiled brat and causing division in our family because I'm also poisoning Stan's mind to not like Alex, and I forbid Stan from visiting Alex when Stan is in town. I don't. I just say that Alex can't come to my house. If I am completely honest, Alex just bothers me on every level. I don't like her as a person. I've tried, but I don't. I don't think she is nearly as clueless as she lets on. So she gets away with saying mean things and being inconsiderate, and my parents say she is just awkward or anxious, and I have to accept that. So am I letting my dislike of her cloud my judgment? Should I just let her be around my kids at cookouts and holidays? How do you handle siblings you genuinely dislike? Especially if they have huge boundary issues. I think OP should never let her sister around her or her family ever again. Anyone who claims, "but family," after how she has behaved is nuts. OP's parents have been excusing and ignoring her horrible behavior for years. It is OP's sister's fault that she cannot be around your children, not OP's fault, her fault. She is incapable of taking responsibility for her actions. Also, I think OP's sister might have mental issues. Don't you think so, guys?